So welcome back everybody. I recently had a viewer send in an amazing gift. This right here, the Dewalt 20 volt pruner. Now the model number for this is the DCPR320B. B stands for bare tool. You can probably get this with a battery or without. I have plenty of batteries, so they sent me in the bare tool version. By the way, this was sent in as strictly a gift. Thank you so much. You know who you are. I'm the one that chose to do a review. There is no affiliation with Dewalt whatsoever. I can say this thing is horrible if it is, or I can say it's good because it was just strictly a gift, never intended to make content with. But as we often do on the review channel, I love reviewing things. I'm a huge fan of Dewalt products. I have tons of their tools, and I've seen this before. And if I'm perfectly honest with you, I thought this might be a little bit of a joke because who needs electric pruners? After now using one for a little bit, I understand the desire for one of these. Spoiler alert, I love it. All right, so if you're not familiar with this, it's basically just a electronic pruner. Press the button, goes down, and they claim up to 1,100 cuts per charge. Now that's going to depend on your battery size, the size of the material, how hard it is, but I can tell you I've already been running this for about a week and a half, then made hundreds of cuts, and I'm still on a 4 amp hour battery. So who's this for? Ultimately, somebody maybe with arthritis, bad hands, does a lot of pruning. Maybe you're older and things just don't work like they used to, or in situations where you just have a tremendous amount of cutting to do and don't want the hand fatigue. I've been doing a lot of pruning around deer blinds, trail cameras, up and down trails on the property. I can tell you one of these stays in the back of our side-by-sides or carts just for pruning those trails out. This is very, very handy to have. So there's not a whole lot to show here. It's just an electronic pruner. Works with all your typical 20 volt Dewalt batteries. Comes with a little tool on the side. Looks like the blade is replaceable. So should you damage that, I have not looked online to see where any are because it looks like it's cutting very well. Claims that it cuts up to 1.5 inch material. That's what we're about to do. Jump right into doing some cutting, some testing. No need to make this video long. We'll cut some softwood, some hardwoods, vines, and things such as that. So let's dive right into it. Let me give you my thoughts on it. This may be something that you're looking for. And FYI, I'm gonna put some links down in the description that are affiliate links because I'm an Amazon affiliate. If you'd like to go check out current pricing on these, I'll try to find the one with the battery and charger in case you don't have that. Then of course, the bare model is probably gonna be the most common because a lot of us already have Dewalt batteries. So as you can see, we have trails all up and down through our pines. Obviously this is softwood, should be easier cutting. And then we have a whole bunch of hardwoods out here that always needs trimming as well. So it's got a safety release right here. Not crazy about that, but it seems everything has safeties nowadays. You have to put that flap down, push in this grip, and then you can pull the trigger. Obviously for little materials like this, it's just gonna be no problem. As you can see, you can just zoom right in, do some cutting. Most people are gonna come up to cut branches like this. Actually quite powerful. So if you just bump the trigger, it won't go all the way. That's something I'm having to learn. You got to hold down for about a split second. All right, so if we come up to something like, say, that is going to be the full 1.5 inch capacity. I have found that you typically will not cut on first or even second press. Let's see. Almost did it first time. Bump it again. And you can see we cut probably about 1.25 inch material right there. Let's do it again so you can see. That is easily 1.5 inches. And it took 2 bumps of the trigger. Now due to the bottom hook design, I kind of like, say you come up to a bunch of vines like this, I'm always having to prune vines. You can kind of roll in there and catch a whole bunch at once with the hook. Then press and cut, and I just cut about 5 vines at once. Kind of roll in and get a whole bunch over here again. I'm always, and I mean always, dealing with vines. As you can see, we have them everywhere. All right, so here's a case of something I am always doing, pruning limbs back to not hit the canopy on our zero-turn mower or the roll bar itself. So we're gonna be pruning oaks here, one of the hardest things that I have to prune, and I actually need to cut a very large limb up here that's going to easily max this out. Probably gonna be difficult to get through. We'll measure it and show some cuts there so we can show up to the max capacity, test that. Obviously the minimum capacity shouldn't be a problem. So as you can see, for oak limbs this size, we just snap right through those. Now we come up to something like that. Well, as you can see, we can't even get around it. So I don't know if we're gonna be able to cut that or not. It looks to be far larger than the capacity rated. This is where I would start getting a saw out, especially this being oak. But let's see if we can cut up here. What happens? I'm definitely not expecting it to cut through on the first or second press of the trigger. First press, second, third, fourth. Just gonna keep going. Let's work our way around. All right, just made it through on one side. Okay, that was a bit much for this. Definitely you're gonna want to saw for things that size. Let's go ahead and measure it up and see how thick that really is. All right, so if we take a look at this, just over 1.5 inches, about 1 5/8 inches. So they claim that's max capacity. I can say, as you just seen, I would not be cutting hardwoods at 1.5 inches. Let's try some smaller stuff to kind of see what I would consider max. More than 2 to 3 pulls of the trigger, I feel like you're probably just pushing the unit too far. That's also not efficient, so let's try something smaller. One, almost got it on that one. Okay, I'm okay with 3 pulls of the trigger. If we take a look here, we're looking at about 1 inch. So when it comes to hardwoods, I would say stick to 1 inch or less. When it comes to softwoods, it looks like the full 1.5 inch capacity is no problem. Let's work down a little further. All right, down to about 3/4 to 7/8 of an inch. We're able to get through with a single press. Not bad. I can tell you cutting hardwoods by hand just about doesn't work when you're talking this size with hand pruners unless you got some really good quality pruners. So this is already outpacing what you can cut with a hand pruner. Definitely a lot quicker than cutting by hand. And of course, no fatigue. All right, so final thoughts after a couple of weeks of using this, I like it. Now, if you have limited pruning to do, I don't know that I could justify the expense of one of these versus a typical hand pruner, but if you do a lot of pruning, no doubt this cuts down on fatigue and can cut bigger and thicker material than the typical hand pruner can do. I like it, and I sure do appreciate the viewer who sent this in. What an awesome, amazing gift. Thank you so much. Again, none of this was sponsored, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Is this something that you already own, something you're interested in? I used to think these were kind of a gimmick, but now having operated one for a couple of weeks, I can see the value in it, especially if you have a lot of pruning to do like we do.